let's start the class. Yeah, I know a little bit behind, but that's okay. I like to go slower so that we can go over everything instead of jumping. All right, let's. This is number 13. Let's. Yeah. Who handled this one? Yeah. Okay. There's number 13. Oh.
I did number 1.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah. So we had the historical Buddha in the past.
So
What's about that?
Well, so there are like deity type Buddhas, and there's the Buddhas that come to Earth to teach, like during, I think what I read was our current Kalpa. And Siddhartha ended up being the 4th, but there's one more to come out of the current Kalpa that we're living in. And in fact, before Kasanda Buddha. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
It's okay. Before Kasanda Buddha, who was the first Buddha of our current Kalpa, and when I looked up Kalpa, or K-A-L-P-A, it's an undefined length of time, but it's the current world cycle that you're living in, I guess, is how they describe it. So there's supposed to be 5 Buddhas within our current Kalpa. And so the first one was Kasanda Buddha. But before him, there was like 29 Kalpas that did not have any Buddhas in them at all. Like, and so for him, like our current Kalpa is deemed special because we will have 5 total. But I think some sites had like 28 Buddhas, and some of them had more, some of them had less, like 16. I guess it just depends on which tradition that you follow, whether it's Chinese or Theravada or Mahayana, or because everybody kind of has their own, like I said, depending on how many deities of the Buddhas that you believe. But I thought it was really cool that the 5th Buddha, so the one that's supposed to come in the future beyond Siddhartha, Gautama, is the 5th one will be the laughing Buddha, and he's going to come down and essentially teach. Was it for 80,000 years or 80,000 years? He's going to until he comes. I don't remember what it said.
1,000 years from Buddha have a decimeter. Approximately about 360 million.
Yeah, but he's supposed to come to be like to reteach what so that it's not lost. I just thought it was really cool.
What's your number?
24.
So what's your idea? What's your opinions about this kind of Buddha? Is that
I mean, when they start talking about like the deity Buddhas or the mythological Buddhas, it reminds me a little bit of Hinduism. Because although they're not calling them like multiple gods, they refer to them, like I said, as the Buddhas of the heavens. Which to me is like similar to calling someone a god.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to remind you one more times that on the 19th, on the 19th we have the special celebrations at my temple, so you're welcome to come to write a field trip report. And this is our center here. So most of you are familiar with Sugar Land, right? So this is the place, if you can imagine this place, this school here, it's the route. I drive without traffic is about 45 minutes. The traffic is different story. That's why I usually drive early in the morning. So, and one thing I'd like to mention is that if you put this parking car here, this community park, park a car here. So we have some people to meet you there. This is about one couple of minutes, so. No, don't walk. Don't walk, just wait there. Someone will drive you there.
Oh.
So to park your car around this community park here. And we start around 10. If you can come early, this is better. We have free lunch for you.
What time is it?
We start at 10. If you can come early. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back here. Again, so what do you think about this kind of the liturgical Buddhas? I mean, Buddha in the Buddhist, what do you think? Is this logical, reasonable, or what do you think?
I don't know if the person can actually say anything is, when it comes to religion, if you can say anything is logical or not logical.
Okay.
And that's my personal opinion, because there's so many different things in religions that if it's something that you personally believe in, or you feel like in your spirit, your soul, your karma, your living, if it speaks to you, like who am I to say like, oh that's ridiculous? Like I don't feel that way.
And again, like at the beginning, I explained to you, right? There's infinite past and the present. That's why I asked you whether you believe in reincarnation or not. That's medicine. That's the point here, right?
Yeah, they did speak to that, and that's why there's so many Buddhas in the past, because there is no beginning or end to the world. The world just keeps repeating itself, just depends on which kalpa you're currently living in.
Yeah, this is so, and also even now, according to Buddhist view, of course we live in what we call duality, one's impure universe, or whatever you call, or not one is pure land. That's what we have, pure land. Last time, the pure land of Amitabha Buddha and so forth, there's many Buddhist pure lands, not one. So this is so vast, so limitless. Okay, so according to the even Theravada tradition, they don't believe in the future Buddha. They believe only one future Buddha, but they believe in several past Buddha. That has made difference. And according to this chart, second Buddha belongs to the 28, and the next one is 29. That's Maitreya Buddha here. Laughing Buddha, yeah, we cover this day. Anyway, so that's the chart, and then you can like you say, yes, this is you belong to the faith, and believe whether you believe or not. This
But they all of them believe that in order to be the Buddha, you have to have the foresights prior to your meditation periods, where in order to become a Buddha. They all believe the same thing. Like,
yeah, that's like to get that Christian degree, you have to go through all kind of protocols or requirements, right? So you cannot jump, right? Yeah, so not easy to become Buddha, but you have to go through the process. So that's what comes to the next one here. Maitreya Buddhist Buddha, you like to say something? Why? You want to say something about it?
Yeah, he's known as the future Buddha because I read that in the future they believe that people will forget about Buddhism and not believe in it anymore. So he's gonna come back and turn the wheel again.
Yes. Would you like to say something? Yes.
They said he had another name. I think
Yeah.
you say it Gautama Buddha.
Well, no. Gautama Buddha is the present Buddha. Shakti Buddha, that's different. I made that comment on your paper. That's different.
Oh.
Yeah. Gautama Buddha is the Shakti Buddha, not the Maitreya. So don't mix up with that. Yeah. But that's okay. Go ahead. What do you find out there?
He was part of the Buddha Sutra.
What about them?
was assistant for the Buddha, for the Bodhisattva. And they also said that his name meant universal loving kindness.
Yeah. That's matrix 4. That's the meaning of matrix. Okay, here. This is there's many different style. English that is Pittian. This is Indian style. And like man, this is like Buddha. But when we come to, let's say, this come to Nepal, Tibet is transformed to different one. And this one is Tibetan style. And another one, this is Tibetan style. And this one is huge. Have you who been in China before? Have you seen this one? Have you know?
No,
this is the largest statue. There's one monk. He carved this statue out of the whole mountain. You see the people here? Oh my God. Here, let me click on here. You see this? See? Oh, sorry. This is a video clip you can see. You see it? There's people. And he came all this Buddha, that matrix Buddha is out of the whole mountain. And it took him, I think this is probably 80 or 90 years.
One person did that?
Yeah. And of course, he hired someone even to the point that he blind, but he tried to do the fundraising to probably he has helpers.
I do have a question. So, when I was reading the different, they were saying different kalpas had different lifespans. And they kind of decreased by like 10,000 years in each kalpa. So it was like you lived for like 40,000 years, and you lived for 30,000 years, and the average lifespan was 20,000, and then it's 10,000. So Buddha's essentially way back in past kalpas had to teach for like 40,000 years. And then eventually it came down to where now the average lifespan is 100, or that's in the thought process of Buddhism. So now I'm just curious, like, is it going to continue to decline, or is the kalpa going to reset and then we're going to all go back to?
Well, this is a pretty good question.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a pretty good question, but we don't have much time to explain. Let me
Sorry.
see. That is okay. Yeah. So somehow. Do the last one, right? That's a pretty good question. So, let's talk about, that's what we call the Buddhist cosmology. This one compares, this is the 10. So every company has 4 cycles. The cycle of establishing, aggregation, establishing, division, and disappearance. So every company has that cycle and we come back. So according to Buddhist cosmology, now is just the time for us to go down. And when it go down, until human human lifetime is around 10 years old, and then that time it will come back.
Okay, so when human lifespan reaches 10, then we'll reset. Didn't they say that the I can't remember the one you're talking about, the laughing Buddha, didn't say that he was going to come when the life cycle is 100 years?
No, 80,000.
80,000?
80,000.
Okay, so that's where I
From
was
100 up to 8,000.
So we've waited. Okay.
Yes. Do you know this?
18.
Like I told you, right? Most people in the West recognize the laughing Buddha, right? The happy Buddha, right?
You never asked for my name for the whole.
Oh, I did. I checked
He
you.
checked you up automatically.
Yeah, I recognize you. I checked. right? Okay. Yeah, if I miss you, yeah, please let me know. So anyway, let me go back here. Most of you recognize Happy Buddha. Let me see. All right here, laughing Buddha here, right? And who knows why it's different? See, I show you this. This is Indian style, this Chinese style. Why? Why is it different then? Yes.
Well, I had a question about that, because I read that he already existed according to like the Chinese belief, that he was already a monk and that he was already here on earth. And that's where this image comes from, was from this monk that was believed to have been this person.
So what's the question?
So you're saying that this person hasn't come yet, and that he's the future.
All right, thank you. Thanks for bringing up this good question. Now here's the point. In Buddhist view, wherever Buddhas or great Bodhisattva, they can transform themselves in any forms of life to appear in any place to teach according to. So even now, according to Buddhist view, in both tradition, Mahayana, the Rabbis, yet my trade Bodhisattva, he's up there, he's in the heaven, but he could transform himself into different forms of life. Down here, we have such beings. That's what his transformation is here. Incarnation of Maitreya. It makes sense?
Yeah.
So they have this skill. They have the power, psychic power, to transform themselves to any form they like to have people.
So it's believed that he has already come back.
It doesn't matter if it already come or not. It's not important. Important is
He hasn't come as a Buddha yet. He's come down
yeah,
to
he
that
has not been
present-
Buddha yet, but he's still a Bodhisattva in his last stage before he come down here. So in meantime, he can manifest himself in any forms of life to teach living beings. So this means that he come here already. He been here already, but he will be in the future to become Buddha. In that sense. That's why later on today we talk about the compassionate Bodhisattva. He or she doesn't matter. Remember, when we go up that stage, gender is no more different.
So they in China they decided to portray him as a laughing Buddha.
Here, not there's a story behind.
Oh, okay.
It's not the Chinese believe that they portray him as a laughing Buddha. So they say that there's a monk, he's a half monk. So he carry a bag like Santa Claus. He carry a bag with him around, and whoever he put in that bag, especially
He ate it.
not yet, no. No, he distribute to the children.
Oh.
So this type of Santa Claus in Christian traditions. And most of the times, if they are apprentice, manifestation of Buddhas and Bodhisattva, they will not disclose themselves before they pass away. That's the key. If let's say if someone like, oh, I'm Ara, I'm Bodhisattva, I'm Buddha, that's fake. So this Bodhisattva, before he passed away, he let his student know that he was this manifestation of this Bodhisattva, and after that he's done. That means whenever they reveal their own identities, they will disappear. Why? Why is that? Why don't they say back after they reveal their own identity? Why?
They don't need the fame or the, yeah.
That's a point. So whoever actually that's their mind, Bodhisattva, great Bodhisattva, Buddhas, they don't have any kind of ego attachment. So there's nothing for them to show off. They just let people know, oh, I'm here, and that's all. There's many stories about that. But anyway, so one story related to him, I don't know whether I told you yet. So one day he walked on the street and he met a monk. And monk asked him, what's the meaning of Buddhism? of what's mean the Bodhidharma, or this means Buddhism. So while he carried the bags, did I tell you that? While he carried the bag, he dropped the bag down. And that monk asked, is that so? So back and walk away. You understand that meaning? You understand that meaning? No?
Why he dropped the bag?
When the monk asked him, what's the meaning of Buddhism? He dropped the bags. He carried the bags, right? Actually, if you go to the Buddhist temple, you see him with 6 children play on his body. But why? Why he dropped his bag when that monk asked him, what's the meaning of Buddhism? What's the meaning? It's a symbolic way.
Is it symbolic of letting go?
That's the meaning of Buddhism. Let go. Don't attach. You see that? Remember? You got that. See? So when you, especially if you have time to read the Zen story, most of the time they don't speak much. Most of them don't talk much, but they use some action to show the principle. Because we go beyond the oral expression. And what happened when he asked, the monk asked, that's all? And he picked up the bag and carried on. Why? To walk away. Why? What's the meaning then?
Because he didn't understand. That other person didn't understand.
Well, that's not yet wise. At first, yes, when he asked about what's the meaning of Buddhism, he dropped his back, means let go. Don't detach anything. That's important principle in Buddhism, right? And of course, we let go free from attachment, free from stresses and so forth. Why? The next question is why? When the monk asked, is that so? He picked up the bag and walked away. What's the meaning? What's the meaning? What's the meaning there? Drop it down and pick up. What happened?
He has more work to do. He has to go out and spread.
You're almost there. You're almost there. Keep up. Keep up. Almost there. What's the meaning then? What's the meaning?
That's my fun.
Yeah, what's the meaning? I told you last time, remember? The difference between Theravada and Mahayana? Remember? Between the Nirvana and Buddhahood, remember? I told you? If you understand that, if you understand this principle, you would know
It's not the end.
it's not the end. Drop it down, yes, someone achieved the state of mind, right? Right, arhatship, that means attain nirvana, let go of everything, right? No more detachment, no more anger, no more desire, and so forth, right? But for him, it's not ending. You need to work more. Pick up the bar and work on what you call the Bodhisattva path to achieve to the Buddhahood. That is Mahayana spirit. Carry on, carry the responsibility of helping other people instead of when you get out of this reverse cycle and you done by yourself. It is nirvana. But that's only for you. But you have for this Mahayana spirit, you need to carry on the work of Bodhisattva to have perseverance. Carry on the work. Understand that? That's what we talk about the Bodhisattva precept last time, Bodhisattva path and so forth. That illustrates the differences between this self-help and helping yourself, helping others. You understand that? Yeah, there's many stories. One thing that we could point out, I think it's really interesting story for you to know too. The reason why he has that names, that title, Maitreya, the universal law, according to the Buddhist story or legend, that in one of his past life, he was an immortal. That's means he practiced some kind of prolonged life. So one somehow during that period of time, they didn't have any food. No one offered food for him because of
natural disaster, whatever. So this is a rabbit. Somehow he made the vows to jump into the fire to offer his fresh body to this immortal. As very cute.
His barbecue.
Very cute. So, and when this young rabbit jumped into the fire to offer his body, his flesh body to this immortal, and the rabbit mom, the mother of this rabbit, jumped into that fire to offer too. So, if you were that immortal, would you? Because if you eat that barbecue, that flesh, there's no way. So he made the vows that he would not consume, would not eat any kind of flesh at all from that time on. That's called universal law.
Okay.
You have the story? You understand that? So if you understand Buddhist views, sometimes, especially when you read about the past life of Buddha and Bodhisattva, this sometimes will come up and you see that this kind of legend, it's myth too, but it's related to some kind of a principle. So that's why for him, he didn't want to eat flesh.
And is that where that comes from, where most Buddhists believe you don't eat meat or the flesh?
Yeah,
Because someone else has to sacrifice
That's
themselves for
right.
you.
That's why.
Got it.
You got that now?
Now I
And so that's where, when I said I got it, that's what, like,
nice,
the company.
yeah, that's-
finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. That's why we cherish life, not destroy life.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's why I'm sorry, this is what remember. That's why I used to tell my students that if you remember I told you to, if you love pets, so care for chicken. Okay.
It's funny because you go to Korea and they do, not everywhere, but they do serve dog. And somebody was asking me, like, how could they do that? Like, how is that possible? And I understood that, like, meat is meat no matter where you, like, whether they're serving horse or dog. And so just because we idolize some things as pets that you don't cook doesn't, I mean, at some point they're all living. So what's the discrimination between the dog, the horse, the chicken, or the cow? Like, why does the chicken or the cow deserve to die, but not the dog or the horse? And so people have like a really hard time because in American culture, like, you don't eat dog and you don't eat horse because they belong, like, they're part of your family, right? But truly, what is the difference? Like, it is kind of the same. Dog is pretty popular in Korea.
All right, let's move
Don't
on.
eat full meat. You go, it's called.
Let's move on then. And actually, I don't know whether in Nepal they start yet, but I think they still doing right. They animal sacrifice every year, right?
Yeah.
Million of animals, right?
Yeah, goats. The sacrifice goes to the gods.
And if you watch the video, it is horrible. Yeah.
Goats make the worst noise.
Okay. All right, let's just move on then, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you say something about mythical celestial Bodhisattva? Well, why are they?
Celestial Bodhisattva, they technically, they were once human, and after there was a human who had achieved such advanced level of spiritual development, and then awaken. Once they die, so they don't have to come back as human again. So
Not really.
that's what
That's okay. Is that your?
Yeah.
All right. Can you say something about it?
One of them is one name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a celestial.
We talk about her later. The next one. Yeah. Don't worry. Let's go ahead. What else?
I know that there's another one. The Amitabha.
Amitabha Buddha.
He's the celestial Buddha.
Yes.
So
You want to say some more? Tiffany?
Voices, what about the celestial Bodhisattva?
Aren't they known as deities? They're known deities, so they're kind of protectors of faith.
Actually, there's many stories about them, right? You know, right? Now here, let me correct this. Bodhisattva and Buddhism encompass every sentient being. A dog can be a Bodhisattva too. As much as they have others, a human, and so forth. So that's why remember for you, whoever step out ahead or to sacrifice for others, we in Buddhist view consider themselves as Bodhisattva. You understand that?
Because we're even using it interchangeably, but it's not interchangeable. The Bodhisattva and the Buddha, they're not the same.
The ultimate goal is to become Buddha.
Yes.
That's ultimate goal.
Bodhisattvas
Bodhisattva has 52 stages. 52 stages of Bodhisattva before they reach to the fully enlightenment. Understand that? So Buddhist, anyone, any sentient beings can be a Bodhisattva. The manifestation of the beings who sacrifice or help others. So there's many story about the past Buddha, the past life of the Buddha when he was practicing Bodhisattva path. And again, there were sentient beings. We don't have time, so I think we have watched it already. And already that's one thing here. This at the 52 stages of Bodhisattva. There's many levels, not one level. There's the final stage is the places, it's the last stage that you attain without Buddhahood. So again, in Mahayana tradition, please remember, the ultimate goal is to become a Buddha, and you have to go through these 52 stages. Understand that? And anyone can practice a Bodhisattva path. Not anyone, but even any sentient beings, the ant, the dog, the cat, and so whichever beings that sacrifice their life for others, that we consider as Bodhisattva. Now, of course, with celestial Bodhisattva, it's all kind. And yes, we have great Bodhisattva, medium-sized Bodhisattva, and little Bodhisattva. It's in this range, 52 here. So this encompass all kind of beings that sacrifice themselves for others. So that's the idea. And that's why in Mahayana traditions, it's all kind of Bodhisattva you can recognize. Okay, anyway, so let's move on then. Okay, now the next one. Compassion, yes? You want to say something about this Bodhisattva? It's a famous one, and that's on the 19th we celebrate. But the manifestation of her. Yeah, we have this.
So he represents like compassion, mercy, and patience, and he decided to postpone his own Buddhism, so he's helped everyone reach liberation from suffering, and also from the cycle of death and rebirth. And then he's also known back in the female form as well. He
That's what we call the compassionate Bodhisattva. Now, let me show you. This is really interesting. Here's the statue. It's Indian style. And somehow when you go to the bed, it's different. We still have the form of male. And when it transforms either male or female, and this is in Sri Lanka, that's a male form, and eventually it comes down to female form, and 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes. And this one, this form here. And this Bodhisattva is so popular. Do you guys carry that one? You guys carry one arm?
I got.
You got it? Can you show them?
I got the sign.
Huh?
I got the sign in Buddha.
What's that?
I got the sign in Buddha.
Can you show them? What's Buddhist? With that Manchu Buddhist?
Yeah.
Laughing Buddha?
Yeah.
Oh, Laughing Buddha. How about one arm?
I have it at home.
You have home? You carry it? You carry with you?
I don't have one with me, but I have one.
Alright. Why do you have that?
I have the laughing Buddha.
Alright.
Laughing Buddha.
Oh, really? Oh, you like Laughing Buddha?
All the guys get Buddha.
And this one here, this is the image here. You see, that is transform this in Vietnamese style. It is transformed from male to female. Why? You may wonder why. Again, why? Well, in India, it's his form of male. When it comes to China, Vietnam, he become female. Why? Why is that? You know,
He took the form of a female.
huh?
He took the form of female symbolism.
Oh, not yet. How? Why? What is that?
We all start off as females anyway?
Can you speak up? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I speak?
It's okay. I think it's wrong, so.
Alright, no, that's okay. That's fine. Now here, again, for the Red Bodhisattva, especially this Bodhisattva, he or she become Buddha and past Buddha already. And out of compassion, he come back as a Bodhisattva to help sentient beings. And so, one more thing I want to mention is when you achieve this Buddhahood, when you become Buddha, it's go beyond the gender. There's no gender at all. Whether male, female, doesn't matter. But for them, yes, they can transform in that for other forms that can be helpful for sentient beings. So this Bodhisattva can transform into a male or female, doesn't matter. Especially in the Lotus Sutra, is in one of the chapter, the chapter 20, I think 25, 25, talk about this Bodhisattva, the one who manifests 32 transformation body. That according to the wish or the needs of sentient beings. So if you understand, especially Maha Buddhism, is the vast views about this kind of Bodhisattva who can transform themselves into having art, to any forms to have sentient beings, have people. And when you go, let's say one day your car break down on the street, and somehow one car pull up and give you a hand, that's Bodhisattva there. You understand that? So again, in Buddhism, it's not limited to a Buddhist, it's not limited to a human. It's all people, all sentient. If they have others who consider themselves as Bodhisattva, and especially this Bodhisattva, he or she transforms into any form of life to help sentient beings. And actually, I'd like to show you this image that is very famous in our Vietnamese Buddhist traditions. Here, this one here. This one here. You know, remember I told you that I was both people with some of your parents, right, or grandparents, right? And during the 80s,
especially many Vietnamese people, they worship this Bodhisattva, and actually somehow, of course, that's a fight too. Somehow someone captured the pictures of this Bodhisattva who rode on the dragon to help the refugee people on the ocean. And when they went to the refugee camp, this kind of big image is so popular over there. And there's many miracles that involved with this faith alone. And most of Vietnamese Buddhist people or Chinese Buddhist people at home, they have this statue, this one of compassion statue more than the second Buddha. Why? Because of the faith. And why it has a feminine feature? Why? It's like the mother, compassionate mother, care for the children. That's why it somehow this kind of statue or image transformed from male one in India or even in Tibet into female one in China or in Vietnam, because of that kind of compassionate nature of this Bodhisattva. Right, so next Sunday if you come, we will celebrate this actually Bodhisattva and you learn more.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay. So this is very famous and many stories that relate to this Bodhisattva in China and Vietnam and so forth. And why? One more thing before I move on. Why? Well, this Bodhisattva has 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes. It looks strange for you guys? It looks strange? Why? We have 2 hands, 2 eyes. Why this Bodhisattva has 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes? Why?
To represent the different lines they
That's just one views. How about other views? Why? Only one person. We have 2 hands. That's my hint. We have 2 hands to carry this bar. We have to just carry these items on the 2 hands. That's all. But for the Bodhisattva has 1,000 hands, 1,000. It's symbolic way that this Bodhisattva could have sentient beings. You understand that? It's like if you're president, if you are high officer, you have all kind of responsibility to have people. So this Bodhisattva, it's just symbolic way. Alright? Okay. So let's just move on to the next one. Now, okay, so Francis, you want to say something about Bodhidharma?
Yeah, I was working on the past one. I didn't realize this one.
Okay. What's about him?
So I think I might need your help.
Oh, sure.
Bodhidharma, it was a Buddhist monk, but he was supposed to be like a king. Well, like kind of like a Buddha, but he wasn't as wealthy. But he was supposed to be the king, but he refused to become a king. But he showed wisdom ever since he was little. Like he was 7 years old, and he showed wisdom. But he was from Japan. No, he was from India, and then he moved to Japan.
No, China.
China?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I figured out.
This is no.
He is considered the father of Zen in India. And he was known for his determination and willpower, because at one point he wanted to enter this monastery, but he didn't. He was not let in. So he went and lived by a cave, and he faced the wall for 9 years. So after 9 years, they let him in. But when he was let in, he realized that the people that were living there, they were not strong enough. They were, I guess, skinny, and they were falling asleep while meditating. So he had to come up with a different strategy.
Teach you Kung Fu.
No.
that's
Really?
the legend.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Here's this. If you go to any Buddhist, any Vietnamese Chinese Buddhist temple, you would encounter this image, this Bodhidharma, and this one here. So basically, he was a prince, an Indian prince in southern India.
So somehow he didn't want to become a king, instead to become a monk. And his master, his teachers told him that after he transmitted the teaching to him, his master said that you better go to China, go to the east. Otherwise, if you stay around here, people may kill you and so forth. But so he went there. And when he went to China, he met a famous emperor, Liu Bode. And this emperor asked him, you know, I support monks and nuns, I build the temples, I preach the sutra, Buddhist sutra and so forth. Do I have any merit? Why? Say no.
You don't need 6 back pain in your drink.
Oh, that's good. Actually, that's the answer. Wow, thank you. You read that story yet? No. That's good. Yeah, that's the answer for Bodhidharma. Yes, later on he explained. Yes, if you build a temple, if you have all the people, you have the blessing, the merit. But it's like you get the money and soon, if you use them all, you're done. But the important thing is that you have to practice the way. You have to recognize your Buddha nature. That's what it's about. But anyway, so when he recognized that the king could not understand his teaching, so he went to Shaolin. You know Shaolin monk? You heard about that, right? He went to Shaolin monastery to sit for 9 years facing to the wall. 9 years straight. And of course, later on, people came to see him. And one of his first disciples, according to legend, he kneeled down for 3 days and nights under the snow. And when he turned around, Bodhidharma turned around and asked, why you kneel there? So this monk, Hui Ka, he said, I want to seek for your teaching. And so he said that, well, the Buddha teaching is pure rare. It's not easy for you to kneel down and then receive that. So somehow what happened? That monk, he came back, and he went to the temple and came back with a knife, chop off his arm to show sincerity. This beyond your thinking, right?
I was just thinking there's no other way to show sincerity.
Yeah, and from that point on, he taught that monk. Anyway, so later on, let me show you short little clips. A little bit legendary, but I think you may enjoy this. Here. You may not understand this is because it's in Chinese. Oops. This is Kung Fu too. This is Kung Fu movie too.
就是等到明天呐、我也不让他上船。对，我看来。我女儿呢？啊！哎呦，我女儿掉到水里了！
Naturally, some temple repeat this English that he crossed the river with a branch of trees. And this, they got this story from that.
今日我为前世造业，受剑受伤也是因果循环所致，你心中不要没有怨恨。我为你受3界罪业，他日做成好事。是。
So remember the concept of
来
human
找你的猎
come back as Arnold, Arnold come back to him.
一切
It's not in natural way
是猎
from Buddhist view. Right. So let me skip this one and I think you see here.
那不就是一箭双雕吗？我看过去，如果运气好的话，有时可以射到怀孕的猎物。
对，那就不止两只了。
记住啊，我有带你来，你们来啊。
That's what when he sat there for 9 years under the cage, in the cave. Anyways, this is one of the movie, but it's not a movie that depicts him as a kung fu master too. The one who taught the young monks how to do kung fu, like you mentioned too. Yeah, this is some form of exercise, and especially in kung fu, in Chinese kung fu history, they say that it's initiated by him. They consider him as the patron, the grandmaster to teach the kung fu there. Alright. So again, this is the legend. If you type on Buddhism, you can watch at home. You see about kung fu movie about him. Okay. Let's move on. The next one. Now, okay, prisoner in here. Yeah, can you say about Atisha? What's the name?
Akisa was a prince in the city of Bangalore, and so he had a lot of things. He had a wealthy family, but at a very young age he wanted to be a monk, and he didn't want to live with material wealth. His family tried to arrange a marriage for him, but he canceled the marriage and went. He started to seek a spiritual leader. Eventually, his family accepted that he wanted to be a monk, and he went to Tibet, where he formed the Tibetan section of Buddhism. And he's important because he established a lot of monasteries. And he said that you have to practice the 3 sections of Buddhism in a particular order.
Actually, the Atisa is one of the famous monks that came from, who was born not in China, in Bengali, in what you call Bengal? It's not in Tibet, but later on, actually, he was a prince too. You may be surprised, from Buddhist history, there's many princes, great princes or high officers, or even sometimes king, get up their titles of how to become a monk, to seek for a spiritual life, especially for him. He was a prince again, so he let go. I mean that he didn't become a king, instead become a monk. So he went to Indonesia and so forth in South Asian country to study about the tantric traditions. And later on, he went to Tibet to spread that tantric traditions. And that's what we call the second wave of tantric movement in Tibet. And he was invited by a Tibetan king, who's so famous. And the one who created the Dalai Lama lineage, let's learn from him. Not learn from him directly, but learn from his teaching too. So it's really interesting about his life. Okay, so I just want to give you some information about him, and this is from him. And he developed what they call the Kardam, or naturally that's the graded Kardam school in the Tibetan traditions.
That's one of the oldest schools in Tibet. Let's move on to the next one, Shankara. Dennis is not here. Again, Shankara is the founders. The founder of the Dalai Lama lineage. So one of his students created that type of lineage, and that's why we have what we call 14 Dalai Lamas up to now. And he divides the Tibetan traditions into the proper one, because it's pretty tricky, especially when it deals with the tantric traditions. And most of the time, not many monks follow the authentic traditions, authentic paths. That's why Buddhism disappeared in India, because of the tantric path. And for him, he emphasized on the monastic discipline. That's why when you study Tibetan Buddhism, you recognize that Dalai Lama said, Dalai Lama lineage follow the strict traditions, uphold the monastic rules and disciplines. But the others said they would not. The others said the monks, they consider them as a priest, not a monk. They may have families, wife, children, and so forth. But for the Dalai Lama lineage, yes, it's like the other monks in different traditions. Okay. So the next one I want to show you. We want to talk about what we call Huinan, Julan. Can you look here? Okay. Who knows? Remember I told you about the monks, the Chinese monk whose body is still here 4,000 years. Remember that? Alright. So at first this was a poor man. Did you guys know about this? I didn't tell you about this yet. So one day, actually he went to the forest to collect the wood to sell for the people. That's a way to exchange for food. So one day when he carried that wood to his customer, and his turn, he was that man in the house deciding the Diamond Sutra. Another time we have that type of some kind of realization, and so that man. That layman, he recommended him to go to see the fifth Hydra, right, in the Zen tradition. And when he went there, yes, he learned from him, but later on he was given the rope and bow. In Buddhism, the rope and bow is a symbolic way to transmit the authorities or transmit the mind to mind seal, so that the person can be teacher, can be authentic teacher. Let me show you this short video clip about him. Let me skip something here. This is a movie. This is a few long movie, but I will skip this for you. So basically, even when he went in monastery, he's still a lay person. So the master asked people to write the verse before he transmit the drops. Can you read? No. Let me go back a little bit so you can see.
你想干什么？对不起，因为我不认识字。
Okay, let me tell you briefly about this. So, the master told his students that, okay, you need to write a verse. If I recognize that in your verse you demonstrate some of your realization, I will transmit the rope and bow, that means authorities, to teach to you.
So there's no one except the head monk wrote the verses on the wall. But later on, at night, because he was uneducated person, so he could not know how to write. So he asked one scholar to write the verse for him. In the sense, as he mentioned that the mind is not the mirror. We don't need to purify it. This is there already. For the first verse, the head monk said that for our mind we need to purify it. We have to clean and purify it. But for him, in his verse, he said that we don't need to clean. We don't need to clear the mind. We don't need to purify it. It's there already. That's why the master transmit the robe and bowl to him. This verse, and
妈妈，师父的开示我谨记在心，由现在起，你就是禅宗第6代宗师，广度众生，弘扬正法，让佛法永世不朽。来。师父，《金刚经》上既然已经说过“因无所住而生其心”，为什么我们还要有衣钵？问得好。当年达摩祖师传法给二祖慧可法师的时候，许多人都不相信，不知道禅宗内法是心传心的秘法，外法采用衣钵来作为传法的信物。让凡人见到衣钵就想到市场，由想而信。弟子会好好保有这个衣钵。不，世俗之人永远不会了解衣钵的真正含义，只会争权夺利的取得衣钵，争到名位。所以这份衣钵，我希望只传到你为止，以后别再传了。是。现在心法我已经传给你了，我送你出寺。师傅，还是我来摇橹吧。不，你就拿去吧。证明不如。
So after the master gave him the robe and bowl, the monk chased up to him. Because they say it's unfair. Because he's an uneducated person. But somehow the master gave him the robe and bowl. It's unfair for him. For them, instead of giving the robe to the head monk, and then get back the bowl and the robes.
师傅教给我的，少他妈一场面啊！不管怎么说，今天非要把衣钵交出来不可。师傅传给我的不止衣钵，还有心法。如果你自认为你能误解师傅传授的心法，衣钵你就拿去吧。哼，我才不相信你得了什么心法！你不信我？就是不尊重师傅，不敬师者天谴。菩提自信，本来清净，但用此心直了成佛。慧命，佛法随缘，不可强求。好，你说你得了师傅的心法，那你说说看，只要你能说服，我就不动这份衣钵。心中只要排除一切尘缘妄念，不思一切善，不思一切恶，先能控制自己的心念，因为万法原本就是在自性里，就这么简单。那么祖师世世代代传下来的密语密意又怎么解说？ 任何的命运利益，就是求了解自心的本性。当你了解自心本性，心中佛性彰显，你就是佛，佛就是你。这个是没有分别。
He said that's a Buddha. Everyone has Buddha nature, and you are Buddha. Buddha is you. If you recognize Buddha nature. Let me move on this one. The last. Okay. Let me. I think we can talk about Dogen. Jessica, you want to say something about Dogen?
That he was very wise as a child, but he lost both of his parents, so he was taken under his uncle, who was very powerful and gave him education, in particular Buddhist texts. So I believe at the age of 12, he went into a temple, and at the age of 14, he was ordained a monk. But during that time period, he questioned Buddha nature with enlightenment. So that led him to meditation and Zen.
Yeah, this is very famous. Dogen established the Soto traditions in Japan when after he got back from China. This is short trailer about him. He went to China and got the received the teaching.
爱指经师，追取经佛化的旅程。50岁，少年の仏法では持ち帰っておい、千の家の着想に爆買い追放を命じ。真の仏法建立のため越前、地域の将を目指す。一つ、商用。二つ、思想。三つ、表情。四つ、本性心。五つ、不毛念。六つ、修善情。七つ、主治。八つ、不敬論。これを修学せざるは仏弟子とは言わない。覚悟の件であろうな。お便り。それはない。自己を発する。暗号に称せらん。暗号に称せらんに自己の信じを覚え、他己の信じをして脱落せしむになり。
Okay, so that's a trailer about him. This is more than an hour for people who want to learn more about him. Alright, let's this one here. I chant. Joseph, you here? You want to say briefly about him? Yes.
I said he became a monk after he joined the monastery. Well, first he was at the monastery learning how to read and write, which is like tradition. And then after 3 years of that, he went and returned to his parents, out with his parents. But he always felt the calling back to the monastery. So when he was 20 years old, he went back to the monastery and became ordained as a monk. Then 5 years later, his dad got sick and died. And this caused him to ponder the purpose of life. And so he left the monastery and went on a pilgrimage where he met a guy named Ajahn Baharidatta, who explained to him that even though the teachings of morality, meditation, and wisdom were presented with great detail, at their core they were very simple. And this caused him to have a revelation. And then the next 7 years, he just roamed the countryside with just meditating. Then after that, he came back to his old village and chose to live in a nearby haunted forest. And disciples started coming to him. And this is what started the Wat Pong, which was a monastery.
Okay. The reason why I put his name here because it's so famous that he revised the Buddhist traditions in Thailand. and what we call the forest tradition. You know, at the beginning I asked you about the one is the rural monastic tradition, and one is the scholastic tradition. That's his rural or forest tradition. He devised this, and many Westerners came to study from him. And this is one of the video clips that is established the center in England.
He has come from Thailand for a few weeks to lend his support to the new sanctuary.
ในเวลานี้ชาวตะวันตกนี้กำลัง
Many people in the West today seem to have much dissatisfaction and unhappiness in their hearts, and they feel they don't have a satisfactory means of dealing with it. The teachings of the Buddha offer the practice of meditation.
Okay, then we go briefly about Xuyen. Ray, you want to say a bit
Sure.
about him?
Yeah, so he's a Chinese monk, lived for 120 years between like the mid 19th century to 20th century, so pretty recently. So he was raised on Taoist teachings, but rejected them to learn to become a Buddhist monk, and he traveled around all around Asia, like Tibet, China, Sri Lanka, for example. He achieved enlightenment at 56, and then after that he dedicated his life to rebuilding Chinese temples, monasteries, schools. He was visited from all over the world. He's also largely responsible for translating, or for having his teachings translated into English, so like Western culture in the UK and then eventually the US as well.
Okay. Yeah, since we don't have much time, let me skip over. How about Dalai Lama? Sarah, you want to say this pretty famous one, right? You read about him a lot?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot about him. So the 14th and current Dalai Lama has actually been Dalai Lama since he was 6.
Yeah.
He was chosen at the age of 3, though. And even though he is the world leader of Tibet, he does not live in Tibet. He's exiled from Tibet and lives in India, a part of India that India actually gave to Tibet to have refugees. And he still is in conflict with the Chinese government. And he doesn't do anything to try and antagonize or go against the Chinese government. He tells people of Tibet to just be kind and peaceful with them. He travels all over the world. He's always doing different conferences and world events and trying to spread the word of Buddhism.
Actually,
I saw that, yeah.
This morning?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
I saw the interview, yeah, it was really funny.
It was really hilarious.
So funny.
Yeah, if you have time to watch at home, and it will explain to you the political conflict between the Tibetan government, Assam government now with the China, the Chinese one. And this talk about Panchen Lama, how they recognize each other, Panchen Lama and Dalai Lama. Alright, so probably next time, this person will talk a little bit about have you done this? Alright, so see you later.